and salutations, and welcome to Reading Between the Lines. I am your host, the Water Dog, and today we're going to be talking about MasterCard ratios. But before we do that, please do me the kind favor of hitting that subscribe button. It means a whole lot to me. And folks, don't forget, we've got the next leg of the Gulf Coast Roast. It's going to be in Dallas, out there in Texas. And we've got 3 days of events for you with the Will of the Council on April 26th, followed by the Grand Prix event on the 27th. And on the 28th, it's going to wrap it up with another event, the Dallas Revolutionary Council. For more information, go to Gulf Coast Roast on your Facebook page. Hope to see you there. I came across an old text note. It's actually a notepad thing. It's an old notepad thing of mine that I had found on MasterCard ratios when I was trying to keep myself disciplined and stuff. Where it's like, just don't do this, don't do that, for example. And I still try to adhere to this. I still try not to play with more than 18 MasterCards in a 90 card deck and stuff like that. But what I did was just kind of broke down MasterCard ratios for myself. But I thought it'd be a good way to introduce that, especially if you're like, a newer player and you're trying to figure out, well, how many of these cards should I put into a deck and blah, 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 blah. And so I thought, well, I'll kind of share that with you today. If you've watched this channel before, you'll notice that I've placed a few times in a few of the episodes Water Dog deck building tactics. And so you'll notice if you ever look at my list, MasterCard is not even on there. And that's because I think MasterCards can do a variety of roles. But these are the 9 things that I think that you are going to need when you build a deck, especially if you're trying to have as many answers as possible for any situation. And of course, things like unlock cards, there are certain defense cards, combat cards, that are all, pool game cards, especially the utility cards. They're all types of master cards that you could be putting into those types of slots. For example, a combat card could be like a Haven and Cover, a pool game card could be something like a liquidation. So I don't have on the list MasterCards, but I thought, well, because usually MasterCards is one of the last things I really kind of think about. I start to count the MasterCards that I have in the deck, because if there's anything I can't stand, it's getting your hand stuck full of MasterCards and you're trying to figure out how to get rid of them. So what is the proper amount? One of the things I've learned by playing here over the last couple of years is that, good players know what cards to put in their decks. Great players, great deck builders, they know the ratios. They know exactly how many of these they should be putting into a deck. And that really is what's going to separate, the good from the great, is those ratios. And so if you just kind of needing a starting point, we're going to take a look at my old notes. And so here we go. All right. To break down this idea, we're just going to, first off, you got to look at the number of cards in your deck. So for example, if you're playing a 60 card deck, 77 card deck, 90 card deck, that type of thing. The next thing is typically what's your hand size going to be. Your hand size is going to be 7 cards. And so at the optimum level of performance, you want to have one of those 7 cards be a master card so that you're playing a master card every turn. That would be the optimum thing. And so that's where I just came up with, well, let's just divide it by 7 and round it down rule. And so when we look, for example, at a 60 card deck, if you take 60 cards and you're going to divide it by 7 rounded down, that would be 8. Okay, so 8 master cards is the optimum level of performance for a 60 card deck. At 77, it would be 11 cards, and then at 90 card deck, it would be 12 master cards. And so that's what we're looking at. Okay, of course there are going to be things that will change that. Okay, so one of the things that's going to change that, of course, would then be trifles, because when you're looking at trifles, that gives you the ability to play a second master card. And so if you're looking at a second master card with trifles, then I'm using now the divided by 5 rule, okay, and then round it down, okay? So, for example, you now take let's say a 60 card deck, okay? And when you go over 8 masters, those masters have to be trifles, okay? So if I'm going to have a 60 card deck, and let's say I'm going to play 12 master cards, knowing that the golden rule would have been 8, that means that 4 have to be masters. And so if I have 9 masters, it has to be trifles. So if I have 9 masters, 8 are regular, 1 trifle. If I have 10 master cards, 8 are regular, 2 trifles. And so if I'm adding on master cards to this, then I'm adding on a trifle. Okay? And so that just kind of gives you an idea. So that's 12 master cards is the optimum, and that would then give you a total of 8 masters with 4 master trifles, okay, in a 60 card deck. When we look at a 77 card deck, kind of doing the same thing here. Of course, our optimum level is 11. So if we play 12 master cards in that deck, one of them has to be a trifle, okay? At 13-2, 14-3, and 15-4. So in a 77 card deck, to try to get the optimum potential out of your masters, you're looking at about 15 masters, okay? And then, of course, with 11 being regular masters, and then the other cards being trifle cards, okay? 90 card deck, the peak number for that is 18. Of course, optimum regular masters is 12, and so that would mean that 6 of the other masters then can be trifles. And so that's kind of how that works. Okay, it's just a generic breakdown. If you're just looking at some of the numbers and you're just trying to figure out, well, what's my limit, stuff like that. That's just a good barometer to go by, and I go by that for the most part. Now, the game and your ratios change when you are playing, specific cards that can change. For example, hand size. So let's look at a list of master cards, for example, that change your hand size. These are master cards that you can put in play that will affect the number of cards you have in your hand. For example, the British Museum, London. You've got the Dreams of the Sphinx, Elder Library. He has Theater, Visit from the Capunchin, and Weeping Stone. So these are examples because if you've got a greater hand size, then it may not bother you to be sitting on 2 master cards instead of 1 master card based on the hand size, because you have that extra holding spot that doesn't typically would mess with the flow of your cards. And so changing the hand size does help change some of your ratios there for you a bit. Okay. Another barometer would be things that just simply change the effects of what you're discarding or adding to your hand or subtracting from your hand. They just change the effects of your ratio. Things like the admonitions, the barons, deal with the devil, fragment of the Book of Nod, and storage annex. And so once again, these are cards that help affect your hand size, your ratios, and of course, having the ability to discard helps, so having something like the Barons is really, really good because it doesn't allow you to get an extra card out of your hand and hand cycle. Another thing that can affect is, of course, there are certain library cards that you can put in your deck that will affect your hand and your ratios as well. So, for example, there's things like the Bitter and the Sweet Story, a Gift of Protean, Mogoli Blood, Reliquary Trinket, Sidario Refraction, Your Fortune. So these are types of library cards that affect how many master cards you can have in play, adding cards from your hand into something like a Mogoli Blood, things of that nature. Gift of Protean does the same thing. And the fact that, like the Bitter and the Sweet Story, you get a +2 hand size once you get that VP. So it's all, things that change the ratios of when you build decks. And so you can keep those types of things in mind. Another thing that will affect the ratios for you are certain vampires, because there are certain vampires that allow you to play or get an extra master phase. Things like Anson, Sybil, Captain H, Itzwin, Nanaburuku, Cincius. These are all good vampires that will allow you to either get a plus hand size or get you that extra master card. Really, really good stuff. So these are things that once again will change your ratios. Last ones we're going to look at are vampires that just have special effects when it comes to master cards. So, for example, Oxenia Daklau, where you can simply discard a master card to do a deflection. Okay. During an action for Angelica, you can get a card discard to get extra master cards to get extra intercept. Okay. You got Lily Hawk, Remember, Reiner Stockska and then Sitterpin, who comes into play, and you get to get 4 discipline cards, and you get to add them to him. So they'll affect the MasterCards that you have in your deck. All these names, I have trouble saying all those names. But in any case, they have very good effects, and they help change the ratio. And so it's just a good starting point. So like I said, I found the list. I thought I'd share it with you today because I just thought, especially if you've got like I've got a young play group and stuff like that, and you're still trying to figure out ratios, that's a good starting point. At least it's a starting point. It gives you a place to go. It gives you some ideas with that, and then of course introduce you to some of these cards, especially if you're a new player and you haven't seen any of these cards that can affect your MasterCard ratio. Well, then there you go. Folks, that's all I got today. It's a quick share. I appreciate you for watching. Y'all take care. Whoa, you watched the whole video? Hey, thanks for watching, man. I appreciate it. If you like what you've been seeing, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Y'all take care.